brave man dies once, a coward 1,000 times. This is a famous Somali proverb that reminds us to fight for the better times, no matter the consequences. I come from the war-torn country Somalia, where every day men and even teenage boys are taken from their families to fight in the war, and this has caused great devastation for my country. My name is Alma Faharan, I am 13 and I live in Somalia, Africa with my mother, father, and twin brother Amin. We live in Mogadishu, Somalia, my country's biggest city. Every day, my brother goes to school while I stay home and help run the bakery. My mother taught me to speak English, but because I have never gone to school, I can't read or write. This is common in Somalia. My brother told me that only about 38% of Somalia can read and write. Although the literacy rate is already low, it is continuing to drop as boys leave school to support their families. While my country continues to fight in the war, our struggles to keep from going hungry worsen. This year, we experienced the worst drought in the history of Somalia, killing over 1,000 people and putting 4 million in the state of famine. Although we have recovered from the drought, the war has caused thousands of people to go hungry. The increase in hunger has caused my country to have the highest mortality rate of children under the age of 5. Every year, out of 1,000 people, 180 kids under the age of 5 die. In 2010, my younger sister Katie died at the age of 2 due to famine. The famine and fear in everyone in Somalia, including my family and me, worsens as the war continues. Every day I walk out in the streets with the fear of getting killed or even severely hurt. It has become normal to hear thousands of gunshots a day. Each day throughout my walk home from the bakery, I pass ruins of bombed houses. Day after day, families, including mine, are torn apart as fathers and sometimes even young boys are taken from their families to fight in the war. On June 20th, 2010, I watched as my father was taken by the Al-Shabaab to fight in the war. Every day, I see my brother struggle with the stress of working to keep our family alive. The Civil War in 1991 left Somalia without a stable government, and we have not been able to obtain one ever since. My grandmother used to tell me stories about living in 1960, the time at which we gained independence. She talked about Mohammed Said Pierre, the president of Somalia from 1960 to 1991, the start of the Civil War. The Civil War was a major part of our history because it was the time when our government fell and Somaliland split off into its own separate territory. My grandfather Aman was part of the Civil War, and although he didn't die, many did. In the Civil War, 100,000 to 350,000 people died. Because of this, the male life expectancy is much lower than the woman's life expectancy. The male life expectancy is 44 and the woman's is 51. By the end of this terrible war, we had no government and young boys were left to care for their families. Despite our struggles, Somalia has benefits, like our beautiful land. As a little kid, my family and I used to take vacations to Long Badang Bush National Park. La Badama Bush National Park is a huge tourist attraction due to its amazing beaches and wide range of wildlife. However, our beautiful land doesn't change the fact that the poverty in Somalia is increasing due to the war. The indication that young boys are forced to take on the role of providing for their families is troubling. Obviously, this needs to be changed in order for my country to flourish. Every year, Somalia spends $53 million on our military, and I hope to someday be in a position where I can make sure that that money is put towards the poverty levels instead. As time goes on, Somali boys will be allowed to return to school when their fathers come home, and fathers will be allowed to spend time with their families and not in the war. Later in life, I hope to help change Somalia.